Welcome to Satsang. So beautiful to be together with you all. We begin as usual with a question that's come from our global family joining us from all over the world through this gift of technology. अंदर जरा जाके शोर हो रहा है बहुत ज़्यादा, इसको बंद कर दीजिएगा. All of our beautiful family from all over the world who join in via the internet. So we start with a question from them, then we'll open it up to any questions that anyone here has. What is life? This is asked by Shankar. What is life? So, my favorite teaching on this is a teaching that Pujya Swamiji shares from his days and his youth living in the jungles, in the Himalayas, in the mountains. And the teaching is in Hindi. I'll give it in Hindi for the benefit of those who speak Hindi because it works better as a rhyme in Hindi than in English. But then I'll give you the English translation for those who don't understand the Hindi. And the Hindi says, Bolo jivan kaisa hai, jaisa banalo, वैसा है. चाहे इसको स्वर्ग बना लो, चाहे इसको नरक बना लो, बोलो जीवन कैसा है, जैसा बना लो, वैसा है. And it's very simple. What it means is, what is life? Life is what you make it. Do you want to turn it to heaven? Or do you want to turn it to hell? It's entirely up to you. So the question that has been asked is very simple, very short, a 3-word question. And of course, when we look at life, there's a lot of different possible meanings. On the one hand, life is biological. A leaf, a mosquito, a virus, a human being. We're all alive. A bacteria, a bird, a blade of grass. There is life in every one of those. So on the one hand, from a purely biological level, life is that which keeps it alive. We wouldn't even say there's prana in it. I mean, a lot of people think, well, it's the presence of prana. Well, I'm not so sure that I would say a bacteria has prana. Maybe we could have an interesting discussion about that, but to me, I don't think about prana in a bacteria, and yet there's absolutely life. It's alive, and antibiotics that kill it. On a purely biological level, life is simply that, the ability to sustain. To sustain. When we speak about the Trinity of the divine power, divine energy, we speak about creation, sustenance, and dissolution or destruction. Right? So we say Brahma is the divine embodiment of, the God of creation. Creating life. Vishnu is the sustainer. Hence why we have Vishnu avatars, because in order to sustain, you don't need to be on earth to create. But you need to be on earth to sustain. Especially if what you want to do is sustain not only the breath in our lungs, but if you want to sustain dharma, good life, the right life, integrity. So this is why Vishnu incarnates on earth in order to sustain. And then we say Lord Shiva, Shankar Bhagwan, is the power of, the god of, disillusion, destruction. So life is that which is sustained between creation and destruction. Life is created and life is destroyed. And obviously the life of a mosquito is much shorter and limited in many other ways compared to the life of a human being or the life of an elephant. But all of that which is life on a biological level is simply that which exists, which is sustained between creation and destruction. But that's not what we're looking at. But it's important to get that out of the way. Because to simply be alive renders us essentially no better than a mosquito or a virus or a bacteria. They're also alive. They were created. They haven't died yet. But human life, said to be the absolute pinnacle of not only physical evolution and biological evolution, but spiritual evolution. And it's said to be that because it said that humans are the only species that actually can look at ourselves. A dog just does what dogs do. Bacteria does what bacteria does. A tree does what a tree does. And even the more intelligent creatures, they're not looking at themselves. The dog is not looking at itself and saying, who am I beneath this bite? Who's the one who barks? The dog's not saying that. The dog's just, it's barking, or it's sleeping, or it's kissing you, or it's doing whatever the dog does. But it's not examining itself. Humans have the capacity to say, that wasn't me, right? How many times in our life have we done something that we say, my God, I don't know what happened, that was not me. Well, obviously it was you. It wasn't like you lent out your body to somebody else for the day. But what we mean when we say that is, that's not the me I identify as. That is not the way of being that I am proud of, happy with. I am looking at myself and I'm saying, ugh. Humans are said to be the only species that can do that, which means that our definition of life has to be on a different level than just sustaining. Right? It has to be more than that. What are we actually doing? Sustaining is great. We talk about the environment and how things should be sustainable development, sustainable living. Absolutely. But sustainable is the beginning, not the end. Right? If I say to you, hey, how's your life going? And you say, sustainable. Right? I'm not going to say, oh, that's great, wow. Or if I say, hey, how's your relationship? How's your marriage? And you say, sustainable. Nobody's going to think that, you've got a fantastic relationship. So sustainable is the beginning, but not the highest goal. What is our highest goal there? What is really our life? And it's actually a creation of our free will that is able to utilize our intelligence, our wisdom, gyan, our heart, our love, prem, bhakti, that's able to use our virtues, our priorities, our morals, our ethics, what we think of as sanskars or sanskriti, kind of the ways that we build a life. We're the only species that has the ability to do that. So our life is, what are you creating? What are you creating? What are you building day by day? What are the building blocks of you? And that's where we go back to the beautiful first teaching of life is exactly what you make it. Exactly what you make it. You know, in recent years, they've developed machinery, brain scanning machinery. You know, if I want to do a brain scan, most of us think that the only way to do that is you attach all of these electrodes to my skull, right? You've seen pictures of that. People with electrodes attached to their skull, and the electrodes are hooked up via wires to a machine. And it'll tell you not just the brain activity, but which wavelengths, alpha waves, delta waves, theta waves. And people can look at a brain scan and say, not only the person is awake or asleep, conscious, unconscious, but they can even look at it and they can start to talk about feeling states. They can look at it and they can tell you what's going on in your mind. Now, in recent years, they've developed brain scan machines that don't actually touch your head, that actually are a few inches away from your head. Now, that may seem like no big deal until you really think about it. But it's huge. Because what it means is that which goes on in your mind is actually projected out into the world. And it's projected out into the world in a way that is so powerful and so precise that a brain scan machine can pick it up. So if you ever doubted that your thoughts are creating your reality, just go get yourself one of those brain scans. We are literally projecting our inner world onto the outer world. And thousands of years. That everything is a creation of the mind. That all of what we consider life is actually just happening in my awareness. In the same way that when you go to sleep at night, right? You close your eyes, you lie in your bed, you close your eyes, you have a dream. In the dream, let's say you go to London. There's a car that takes you to the airport. There's an airplane. There's food on the airplane. There's stewardesses on the airplane. There's your seatmate on the airplane. Maybe there's a movie you watch on the airplane. Then you land in London. Now there's the sights of London. There's the cars of London. All these things that exist. Maybe you arrive and you have some food, a coffee. All of that, the smells, the sounds, the sights. When you wake up, you realize, oh my God, they existed only in my mind. Every car, every smell, every cup of coffee, every person existed only in my mind. Now, London, of course, does exist, so maybe it's not the perfect example, but you could think about outer space, think about aliens, and say you have a dream about that. Doesn't even exist in the real world. Entirely in your mind. But even your dream of London, even though it exists on a material plane, everything that took place in your dream was only in your awareness. So according to Vedanta, what is life? Life is a projection happening in awareness. But if you take all of these different definitions of life together, to me we are left with one takeaway. One takeaway. Whether it's just a biological thing that happens between creation and death, whether it is a projection entirely of just our awareness, or whether it's this magical, magnificent, mystical opportunity that we have to be aware, to attain enlightenment, realization, whatever level you look at it, one thing is for sure. We are responsible for it. And that responsibility begins in our own minds, because what we think, not only do we project, but what we think we do. What we think dictates how we see the world around us. What we think dictates how we feel. I love those people. I feel great. I hate those people. I feel horrible. Simple distinction. Shifting of a thought. Those people really love me. Feels good. Those people are gossiping about me. I'm sure they hate me and they think that I'm stupid. Feels awful. A simple shift in thought changes my entire internal reality, changes how I react and respond in the world, therefore changing my external reality, changes the future that I create based on the actions that I take. So it all comes back to our own mind. What is life? It's what we make it in our mind. And it's such a beautifully powerful and empowering realization, because then we're not a victim of anything. Then we are the creators, not the victims. Great. Great place to start. Other questions? Yeah, there's a microphone right there. Anybody who has a question, just come to either this microphone if you're closer to that, or this microphone if you're closer over here. Yes.
Om Sadhviji. I have two questions. My first question is, what is the meaning of actual success? Because we often see in our society who has a lot of money and a good position is called a powerful man, a successful man. Is this really success or something else?
Great. So, one of the things that I'm passionately devoted to is a new definition of success. Because no, I don't think that's success at all. On any level. It's wealth. But if you look at anybody who wants to be successful, and of course we all want to be successful, whatever we're doing, we all want to be successful in it. And if you ask anybody, okay, why do you want to be successful? Whatever your definition of success might be, why do you want that? Well, the bottom line for why we want success is because it's going to make us happy. People who want a lot of money, power, prestige, the corner office, the highest title, well, they want that because they believe on a deep level that by attaining those things they will be happy. People who are in the creative arts, for example, for them success might not necessarily be a lot of money, but it would be a lot of fame, a lot of renown. If I'm an author, everyone should read my books. I should be a best-selling author. Even if I don't make money doing it, at least everybody reads my books. If I'm a singer, if I'm a dancer, if I'm an actor or an actress, even if it's not about the money, I should be a household name. Everyone should know me. Everyone should know my art. Because if they do, then I will be happy. So the bottom line is always happiness. And the dilemma with this definition of success is, it doesn't bring happiness. It has just been showed over and over again, time after time after time after time, to be a miserable failure at bringing us the one thing that we want. And if you doubt that, just choose 10, 15 rich people you know and investigate. Are they actually happy? I did this study. I actually did this study after I had been in India about a year and a half. I'm a scientist at heart, so I wanted to kind of prove to myself what I knew already was true. And on one of my trips back to America, I asked 7, 8, 9 people I knew, each one of whom was at the height of their career field. Great successes. A Hollywood actress, a singer with her songs in the top 10, a CEO of a big billion-dollar company, a tenured professor at Stanford, etc. And I asked them all, in the middle of a conversation. I didn't tell them I'm doing a study, but in the middle of the conversation, I said, "Are you happy?" Not one of them could say yes, not one. Every one of them still had at least one thing between them and happiness. They all said either, "I will be happy when this thing happens," or "I would be happy if this were just different." So we know that that model of success doesn't bring happiness. We also know that it brings misery. It brings competition. It brings oppression. It brings exploitation. It brings environment. And it brings a whole only on that. Vehemently opposed to that definition of success. And it wasn't very long ago where in our society, when we spoke about someone who we said was a bade admi, means like a big man, a big person, it meant someone who was really wise. It meant a great man or a great person. Great in their wisdom, or great in their charity, or great in their work in the world in some way. And the rich people of society were the ones who actually supported financially. The ones who were the great people. This was not that long ago. You had your wise people of society, the bade admi, and they were the ones who were supported by the ones who were the rich ones, so that they didn't have to also worry about making a living, so that they could continue in their greatness, whether their greatness was art, their greatness was music, their greatness was whatever area of greatness they had, society supported them to be able to continue it. Now we've gotten to a point where the bade admi is the one who's rich. End of the story. Now everybody has started just bowing to the rich people. And it's created, I think, not only a really dire situation for the arts, for culture, for music, for art, for poetry, where these are now our starving artists because there no longer is a societal system that supports that. And where those who forsake spirituality, culture, nature, their families, in order to make a lot of money, are the ones rewarded with society's reverence. We absolutely need a new definition of success. And it needs to be a definition that's rooted in how much you give, not how much you get. Right? It's like that saying that the measure of a great person is not how tall they stand.
Life, but sometimes attachments troubles us. So how can we avoid this? Because this is a big problem for you today.
Attachments prevent us from achieving our goals. यही कह रहे हैं ना कि attachments prevent us from achieving. Okay. So it depends what you're attached to. I mean, if what you're attached to is achieving your goal, if that is your attachment, then you're going to forsake everything else in the service of that. If I'm attached to making a lot of money, or I'm attached to becoming president of the company, I'm going to forget everything else in the service of that. The way to work with attachment is to look at it and ask yourself, am I holding on to it, or is it holding on to me? The attachments that kill us, that handicap us, that prevent us from achieving our highest goals, are the attachments that end up holding on to us, where they don't let us go. Because when we're holding on to something, then hopefully we develop enough wisdom to let go. If I'm holding on to something, it's like the story that I tell all the time, right, about the monkeys with their hands in the coconuts. If I'm holding on to something, and that something is keeping my hand stuck in a coconut, so I can't run and I can't climb trees and I can't do anything, then hopefully I'm going to be intelligent enough to let go. The problem with a lot of attachments is they get to a point where they grab us. Where because we have fed them for so long, and because we have convinced ourselves that without that I cannot live, they've grabbed us. And this is where our spiritual practice comes in. Take care of the sons. She'll make sure that, because her other son is Gyan. Gyan and Vairagya are brothers, the sons of Bhakti. So you grab onto Bhakti, and automatically that wisdom comes. And with that wisdom comes the non-attachment, the freedom from attachments rather, that enables you to attain that higher goal. Beautiful. Yes.
Thank you very much for giving me a chance here. My first question was attachment, but attachment with this stool body. I don't want to be old. If I have white hairs, I want to be colored. If I want bad vision, I will go to ophthalmologist. If we problem in chewing, eating, we go to dentist. So asakti, attachment with this stool body, this is my first question. Second is mansa, vacha, karmana. We are not the same. Which is our man, that is not in our vachan, not in our karma. How can we be in the same sequence? I am talking with you with different man. Outside I have some other words. Karma is my others.
Okay. So let's take the first aspect of the attachment to the body. And the attachment not just to the existence of the body, but the youth of the body. And this is huge. This is all over the world. Whenever I go back to America, the biggest seller these days is anti-aging. Anti-aging this, anti-aging that. Whether it's a cream, whether it's a pill, whether it's a tonic, whether it's an injection, whatever it may be. Anti-aging, anti-aging. Now, the problem with that, of course, is it's predicated upon a lie. The only guarantee of life is it's going to end. The only guarantee that I can give you is every single one of us is marching toward death. We are degenerating before each other's eyes as we sit here. It is the nature of nature. That's what matter does. It degenerates. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't get all kinds of plastic surgery. You don't like white hair, you like brown hair, dye it, no problem. It's not going to keep you young. If you have an aesthetic preference to brown over gray, I'm not going to tell you to put hair dye companies out of business. But as long as you don't kid yourself into looking in the mirror and saying, oh yeah, now I'm not old. You want to be brown-haired? No problem. You can wear whatever color sweater you want. You can wear whatever color shawl you want. You want to have whatever color hair you want? No problem. Brown, black, blonde, purple, green, like whatever you want to do, no problem. The dilemma comes when we are basing our thoughts and our energy on something that is actually a fundamental lie. Because we actually know it's a lie. And so it creates inside of us suffering. We know on a core level that we're getting older. You can get all of the plastic surgery you want. Pull the fat from here, stick it in here, do whatever you want. Play musical chairs with your fat, it's fine. Right? I mean, that's what they do. They pull it out of here and they stick it in your lips and your cheeks instead. It's all right. It's your body. I'm not going to tell you where not to pull it out of, where not to inject it, whatever you want. As long as you do not use it to try to convince yourself as a lie. If you are clear that it's simply an aesthetic choice, you would like your lips to look like this instead of that. Okay, change them. You'd like your cheeks to look like this instead of that. Okay. Full freedom, free will, do whatever you want. But do it in honesty. Do it consciously, do it mindfully. Don't do it in a way where you are trying to play a trick on yourself, because yourself knows. You can lie to someone else, but you know. You can get all the surgery, you can dye your hair, you can tell someone you're 30 when you're 60, maybe they'll believe you, but you know. And then all you're doing is you are creating a situation where every breath you take, you're trying to tell yourself a lie. And there is absolutely no way to be deeply happy or deeply at peace while you're telling a lie, because then of course you have to keep it up. If I'm telling myself I'm 30, not 60, well then the minute I get another wrinkle, it's not just a matter of, oh, an aesthetic situation, let me go and have more Botox. It's, oh my God, what do you mean I'm not 30? Well, of course you're not 30, you're 60. We knew that. Honesty to self is a non-negotiable prerequisite for peace, for happiness, and certainly for the higher levels of realization and enlightenment. I mean, you look at, just take one example of teachings from all of our different scriptures. You look at the sutras of Patanjali, the Yoga Sutras, and you look at Ashtanga Yoga that begins with the Yam and Niyam. So the very foundation, right? The highest is Samadhi. We should live long, we should live healthy, we should be vibrant. But we have to recognize the body is made of matter. It's going to degenerate. That's what it does. Keep it as strong and healthy as you can, as vital as you can. But do not predicate your life upon a lie. The attachment to this body being a certain way is the fear of losing the body, because the fear says, I am the body. Otherwise, brown hair, gray hair, like who cares? Otherwise, I wouldn't be so afraid. I might still aesthetically prefer brown or black, and I might still dye it. But the gray hair would not traumatize me. The wrinkles would not traumatize me. Because I would understand, I'm getting old. Getting old. There will be a day when the body ceases to exist. But I will never cease to exist. I'm not my skin, whether it's wrinkly or not. I'm not my hair, whether it's black or gray. I'm not my eyesight, it's good or it's not. My memory, it's good or it's not. I'm not those things. I am that which is never born, which never dies. The only anti-aging, actual, possible pill is spirituality. Because what it does is it teaches us to identify with that that doesn't age. If your anti-aging is only the body, forget it. Stay healthy, stay strong, but you're still aging. You will die. You will degenerate. Perhaps somewhat slower. Perhaps after an extra few years. But you will die. And you will degenerate along the way. But the only anti-aging is to shift your identification. It's why when we pray, asatoma sadgamaya, tamsoma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. Oh God, lead us from falsehood to truth, from darkness to light, from death to immortality? The prayer doesn't make any sense. I mean, the first two verses do, but the last one doesn't. Lead us from death to immortality? When you, oh God, are the one who has created existence like this? You are Brahma, you are Vishnu, you are Shiva, you are the energy of disillusion. Don't bless me with your power? Like, what does that even mean? What it really means is, oh God, give me the light of wisdom. The three verses are not independent, they go together. Oh God, grant me that light of truth and wisdom in which I identify as that which is immortal. Take me from the darkness of ignorance in which I identify as the physical body into the light of truth and wisdom in which I know I am that which is immortal. That is your only anti-aging technique, is to identify as that which has no age. age. Because who you really are has no age. But if you identify as the body, it's just doing its thing. Change it however you want to change it, no problem. Enjoy it like an artist's canvas, no problem. But live in truth. Yes. Just turn it on. There's an on-off switch on the top. Yeah. There you go.
So my question is, when your family members think very differently, and you think very differently. So I am into...
Say this again, your family members? Finish that sentence again, I couldn't hear properly. When your family members?
So when the family members, they think differently than what you think.
You think differently,
So
yes.
how to deal with that? Because whatever I learned is like you should be away from toxicated people, but then when... So how to
When
deal
they're your
with that?
family, what do you do? Yes. So we'll take this as the last question tonight, and it's a great one. So yes, should you in general avoid toxicity? Absolutely. In your food, in your water, in the people around you? Absolutely. However, you can't always. I'm a food purist. People who know me well know this. I'm very pukka. Like, you cannot get me to eat junk food. I won't. And there are times, there are places, you're traveling, you're on yatra, you're here, you're there, where, no, there's not an organic salad available. And you do the best you can. And maybe it's a, bag of non-organic roasted trail mix, right? Not ideal. Probably roasted in some kind of vegetable oil I would rather not consume. Definitely too much salt, packaged God knows when. But you do your best. It's certainly better than French fries, right? You do your best. But if you create a situation where you say, unless it is fully organic, fully fresh, fully healthy, I will not eat it. Well, either you go really hungry, or the places you're able to go become so limited that you've squished your life. And you don't want to squish your life. So you have to develop a bit of an ability to digest, quite literally, something that isn't quite as pure as you might otherwise wish it to be. Because you don't want to live a life in a box. I mean, to live somewhere in a situation where I cannot eat a meal that hasn't been just immediately hand prepared by someone with all fresh organic things that have just come from the farm, it would limit my life extraordinarily. I couldn't do what I do in the world. There are times where you stick to your morals. No, I won't eat non-vegetarian food. I'd rather go hungry. But in terms of the purity of it, the preservatives, the sugar, the salt, the chemicals, kind of that stuff, you develop an ability to digest it. And again, you avoid it as much as possible. I travel with, organic protein bars and sort of, I take advanced measures if I know I'm going to be somewhere where there won't be something I want to eat. But you don't want to create a situation in life where you say, oh, I can't go there. Or, oh, no, I won't eat at those people's house because, they don't believe in organics, or they use a microwave. In general, I'm anti-microwave. But if you create a situation where you say, I can't eat at those people's house, I won't go there, I won't do that, you're pushing away life. And in the same way, with people's energy, yeah, you want to avoid toxins as much as possible. Prepare yourself. If you know you're going to be somewhere where it's toxic, in the same way that I've got my protein bars, or my nuts or whatever it is, prepare yourself spiritually. Go in with, you've got your mala, you've got your mantra. Make sure that you've got time each day allocated. This is my meditation time. Do whatever you need to do. When I first used to go back to LA to visit my parents, after I had first moved to India, I would tell my mom, because she didn't understand the spiritual practice. And, moms are moms. And I was living across the world. So naturally, whenever I was there, she wanted every minute of me. From the minute I woke up in the morning till the minute I went to sleep at night. And so I would develop a little, you could call it a white lie. It wasn't something I was super proud of, but you do what you have to do, in which she always was very committed to me getting enough sleep at night. She loved me to sleep a lot. I was raised in a family where it was like, make sure you get enough sleep. And so, 9 o'clock at night, even maybe 8:30, I'd say, oh, I'm so tired. I'm gonna go to sleep, Mom. And she'd be super happy. And I'd go in my room and I'd get a good 60, 90 minutes for meditation before I actually was going to go to sleep. And then, 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, I'd come out of my room and I'd act like I had just woken up. But I'd already had a really long morning sadhana practice. But I'd come out like, oh, yeah, God, And she was ecstatic. She thought I had slept 10 hours a night. She'd say, oh, look, she'd tell all of her friends, yeah, she comes home and she sleeps so much. It's so great. Meaning you do what you have to do to get the time that you need to keep yourself spiritually healthy. But you don't want to create a situation where you're not able to be with people who are close family members. The goal is, how can you develop an internal resilience to it? And, I don't know whether you live with them or not, but if you don't, maybe you limit visits. So maybe it's not once a week, maybe it's once a month instead. And if you live with them, maybe you sort of adjust your schedule in such a way that you're not overlapping 10 hours a day. But instead you're overlapping half an hour a day. And you create a schedule, a life in which you do what you need to do to stay healthy, physically, emotionally, spiritually. But that you're not so suffocated and in a box and fragile that you don't have that spiritual resilience. Because you need to build it. There are toxic people in the world, and yeah, sometimes they're in our families. And instead of pushing it all away, you want to develop that ability to be resilient. Beautiful. Have a wonderful, beautiful rest of your evening. And I look so forward to seeing you all tomorrow, which will be the beautiful Eve of Holi. We'll take your question tomorrow.